Hi guys. Okay, I just wanted to get with you real quick on um, just how you remember how I was talking about developing goals for your characters. So I wanted to kind of show you what I have in mind, which this is sort of a work in progress as far as how this is laid out. But regardless of whether I change how the spreadsheet looks, the point of the spreadsheet and the point of the goals and everything are still relevant, so that won't change. But I just want to kind of use skin as an example. So just so that you understand like what the whole point is when you develop. Okay, so let me start with backstory. So when you develop a backstory for your character, that's really cool as far as in storytelling for D&D, so that you understand where they've come from and what obstacles they have overcome, or maybe they've overcome no obstacles. Right? Maybe they were born wealthy and want to become an adventurer for other reasons, right? But that this kind of gives them a good history, so that when you are telling the tale from your character to another character, you can maybe find some commonalities between your character and another character. So for example, we have Akiri. As you guys know, Akiri is a blood hunter, um, and very warlike, right? So she meets with Jason Teish, another one of my characters, who is a fighter and who is basically a barbarian. They have the common goals of, they have the common background rather of having gone through a certain amount of warrior training, that really nobody else but other fighters or warriors could really understand. So that gives them sort of a way to connect to one another. So that's backstory. However, goals are where they're going to go in the future. So the past is great, but where are you going, from here? So there's three categories to goals. There's, this looks a little backwards, but I'll explain. There are long-term goals, there's mid-term goals, and short-term. I put a note, like a little comment on each one of these things right here, these Excel cells. So what a long-term goal is, it's the primary driver of the campaign. That's like, why does your character even go out and adventure to begin with? Are they trying to become 20th level? Are they trying to be the head of a guild, and so they have to have experience, in being a wizard or being, a rogue in order to become a head of that guild? What is their overall like purpose, in life? Like something that they could live with for the rest of their life would be like a long-term goal. So obviously these are goals that are going to be pursued over the life of your character. So Keisha Knight, for example, as you know, my 20th level rogue, she always wanted to become the head of a guild, and she accomplished that. That took her years and years and years and years and years to get there, real life years actually. So that's like a long-term goal. So right here it says it can be lifelong, personal, or philanthropic. Um, it can be accomplished, and these are all long-term goals are accomplished through midterm goals, which are in turn accomplished through short-term goals. I'll get back to that, but I just want to mention it. But all goals are these final three. All goals must be achievable, must be able to do it. Even if you can't do it right now, it must be possible. So you can't say, well, my goal is to destroy the earth with a snap of my fingers. That's probably not possible, right? So, I want to become a god. I mean, maybe that's possible, but it seems like maybe it might not be achievable. You know what I'm saying? So something that you can conceivably achieve through your character. Also, each goal must have a consequence for failure. So if you fail at your goal, what's going to happen? More to come on that. And then finally, which is the ultimate goal of D&D, is it must be fun to pursue. Otherwise, what's the point, right? So let's go through this. So with Sken, he has a long-term goal where he wants to develop a unique series of sorcery spells. So as you guys know, with spells, there are spells that you can find in the player's handbook and other sources where they are, they are actually kind of canon for sorcerers, things, spells that every sorcerer has access to. But of course, you have homebrew rules. So one of Sken's goals in his life is to kind of create homebrew sorcery spells, which is, he wants to become known for his own I guess, flavor of spells. Sort of like you've heard of spells that are sort of like named after their spellcaster, sort of like Big B's, the Big B series of spells, or the Mordenkainen. They always have their name at the front of the spell. So he wants to be like a Big B, or he wants to be like a Mordenkainen. He wants to be Sken. There was my purse. Okay, so, but like I said, every goal, or each goal, like long term, has to be accomplished through a midterm goal first. So, with this long-term goal, how do we get to this long-term goal? Well, in order to develop a unique series of sorcery spells, he first has to learn how to shape raw magic, because all sorcerers how they utilize magic is through the phenomenon of manipulating and forming and controlling raw magic, shaping it, if you will. So, and you'll notice that in the pursuit of these two goals, the consequence is if he fails doing that, because raw magic is unpredictable, if he messes around with it too much, the raw magic could destroy him. And that is the consequence for both the midterm and the long term. So for example, while he's learning how to shape raw magic, he could end up destroying himself. It's sort of like experimenting with gunpowder in a way. If like the person who discovered how to make fireworks or how to make ammunition, I'm sure there are people that were experimenting with all that back in the day that ended up blowing themselves up. Same thing here, right? So just like the long term has to be accomplished by getting a midterm goal done, midterm goals have to be accomplished by getting a short-term goal done. So how does he learn how to shape raw magic? Well, he has to find information. He has to find information sources and or mentors that can teach techniques on how to shape raw magic. Hold on, I'm going to close my door. Noisy babies. Okay, so he has to find information and sources and or a mentor that can teach techniques to shape raw magic. So this might be a more experienced sorcerer, maybe even perhaps a wizard or a scholar of some sort. Maybe he finds a book on it, some sort of unearthed arcana, that he finds. He's going to have to figure out where to get this information on, even how to start working on how to shape raw magic, and even in order to begin to start trying it out, if that makes sense. And the consequence is, if he doesn't find this information source or a mentor, he's going to be pursuing it. So obtaining the information can be dangerous or fatal. Mentors could put him into danger or use him, for their own sinister goals. You know what I'm saying? So for example, if he goes, "Ooh, I want to I've heard of rumor that there is a hidden library that's buried in an underground city in northern Niwan, near the Great Forest. So, in order for him to get to that library, he's got to dig down into the ruins of this underground city, and in so doing, he could end up killing himself, just by being murdered by nature. That the mind can collapse on him, monsters can come get him, that sort of thing. So there are consequences for even seeking out and finding that information. Number 2, his second goal right here, is one you guys are familiar with and can probably just copy, for the time being, if it is indeed a goal of your character. And let me stop there for a second, because if this is not a goal that you think that your character would pursue, then let's say that, I'll just make it up. Let's say Ikiri has really no desire one way or the other to rescue children of Karjatal. You know what I mean? She might not be, she's doing it to help you guys out. Maybe she's going along for her own other goals that she has. Maybe she just wants to go explore dungeons. Maybe she just wants to build up in strength, that sort of thing. But as far as rescuing the children, that might not be Akiri's goal. But for Sken, thinking about his personality and, his alignment and everything like that, rescuing children would definitely be a goal of his. That's a midterm goal. And let's talk about midterm goals just a little bit. Now, midterm goals are a little bit different than long-term. Long-term, like I said, are sort of like lifelong, enduring, sort of forever goals that you have. Or at least very long-term, like taking over an island could be a long-term goal because it might take you years, but it's not necessarily your lifelong goal, because once you got the island, then you're done. But it's very long-term to take over an island, let's say. But with midterm, it takes more than 6 play sessions to accomplish, but maybe not necessarily your entire character's lifespan. It might take you 10 play sessions to get a midterm goal, or 6 or 7, you know what I mean? So something somewhere in the middle of long and short. And midterm goals, they might be impossible to accomplish without gaining power, skills, or hard to find information. So sometimes, like let's say with Sken, right now he's level 3. His midterm goal, like I was saying, that first one, was learn how to shape raw magic. Well, he might not be at the level that it takes to be able to even start manipulating raw magic in an experimental way. He might have to be level 10 before he starts that. He doesn't know what level he needs to be because he hasn't figured it out yet, and he needs to figure it out by getting the information from sources or mentors. You see what I mean? Everything kind of plays into each other. So his second goal right here is rescue children of Karjatal. So again, like I said, it's something that's going to take more than 6 sessions of play to accomplish. You guys are on session number 14, and you started pursuing the children, I think, on session 4, I believe. So yeah, you're definitely on session 10. So it's a midterm goal, but it's not a lifelong goal, because eventually the children will be rescued or they'll die. They'll be dead, and that's that consequence. If he doesn't get the children rescued, the consequence of him failing that goal is that the children die. So how does he rescue the children? Well, the short-term goal is, well, first he's got to find their location. Where are they? And if he fails to find their location, then again, the children die. Same consequence there. At least according to rumor, they're being fed to dragons, right? So hopefully this all makes sense. Number 3, he's got a long-term goal of he wants to join the Order of Ix as a guild sorcerer. Okay, that's one of his goals. He really is impressed with the Order of Ix. He is an Erd, which is a winged kobold, and kobolds are very, they're related to dragons. And because one of the goals of the Order of Ix is to bring forth and foster a silver dragon lair, that's definitely his jam. That's his vibe. He wants to be amongst, his ancestry. His ancestors are dragons. So he wants to be part of that. And if he doesn't accomplish joining that order, he's going to die trying, because a membership to the order requires a series of deadly tests that be meted upon Sken, and if he fails them, he'll die, because they only take the best of the best. So how does he join the order? He does it by doing a midterm goal. This midterm goal is assist Ix in accomplishing their goals. So in order for Ix to even consider him as a guild sorcerer, first of all, they gotta know that he's on their side and that his goals are the same as their goals. So how does he prove that? Well, he assists them in accomplishing their goals to kind of prove to them, hey, I'm on the same page. Your goals are my goals. I should be part of your order. And not only just a part, but eventually as your guild sorcerer. So that's what I want to do as Sken, right? And if he fails in accomplishing their goals, he could fail Ix, which causes negative reputation with their guild. I haven't talked much about reputations with guilds, but suffice it to say that he just earns kind of a bad rep with them. They lose faith in him and his ability to do anything, and they're like, why bother with you, Sken? Obviously, you're a sorcerer, but you're not a sorcerer that we would consider, even being a member, or much less being our guild sorcerer, if that makes sense. So again, every midterm goal is accomplished by short-term goals. So how does he assist Ix in accomplishing their goals? Well, one, if you guys look back at session 4 on the session reports on the World Anvil site, the short-term goal is you were given goals by Keisha. One of her goals that she gave you was to maintain a relationship with Lord Pranex so that you can report his whereabouts to Ix. And if you don't maintain that relationship, the consequence is, again, he can fail Ix and thereby lose guild reputation, which ultimately is not going to get him to his long-term goal of joining. Does that make sense? Now this one's a little complicated because on this one, this is number 3. This is goal number 3, which is join the Order of Ix as a guild sorcerer. There's not only one midterm goal to help him accomplish that, but there's 2 midterm goals in helping him accomplish that. The second midterm goal is to help prepare a silver dragon lair. Because remember, one of the goals of Ix is to help prepare a silver dragon lair. They're trying to bring over silver dragons to counter the black and green dragons that are trying to be brought over by Cult Draken. So the Cult of the Dragon. So again, that was a goal that was given, that was thrown out to you by Keisha. So if he does not help prepare a silver dragon lair, the consequence is that the chromatic dragons, meaning the black and the green, achieve the upper hand, which diminishes or destroys the metallic dragon's edge or balance and power. Metallic being silver, gold, platinum, that sort of thing. In our case, silver. And so again, every medium goal needs a short-term goal to fix it, or to accomplish it. So how do we help prepare a silver dragon lair? Well, we donate all of our silver items to line their lair. Every silver dragons in particular, they need to be surrounded by as much silver things as possible. It lends to their magical ability. And again, if the consequence of not donating all silver items to line their lair, well, it slows the silver dragon lair, its construction, which then causes loss or stagnation of reputation with Ix. Well, if he loses stagnation, or if he stagnates or loses rep with Ix, then he will never become a guild sorcerer. See how that all kind of ties into that long term? And then goal number 4, he's got another long-term goal, to lead the Urds out of the Kobold Society and form a separate, self-sustaining community. So remember the Urds, URDS, well, singular Urd, URD, is a kobold that has wings. So if you were to look up kobolds on the player, or the monster manual rather, or the Dungeon Master's Guide, I think it is. I'm not sure where. Not sure exactly where it is. I think it's Dungeon Master's Guide. The kobold is there's a very small minority of winged kobolds called Urds, and wingless kobolds, while they are seen as assets and gifts from Tiamat, the Dragon Queen, those that do not have wings are envious and they don't get along with them. So in this case, in the world of Neon, not only do they not get along with them, they're really treated as a second-class citizen within the Kobold Society, and all of the ills and horrible things that come out of being a second-class citizen anywhere, right? So his goal is to lead the Urds out of the Kobold Society and then form a separate, self-sustaining community. That's his long term. That's probably going to take him his whole life, and maybe something that he'll die trying to do, or die still trying to maintain once he accomplishes it. You know what I mean? And the consequence, if he doesn't get that goal accomplished, is that Urds will continue to be outcast in the Kobold community, which can be fatal to Urds. Because just like second-class citizens in real life, if the prevailing class doesn't like the second class, the prevailing class feels that the second-class citizen's life is worthless and could just, harm them fatally even. So how do we get that long-term goal accomplished? We have to do a midterm goal. The midterm goal is, well, in order for him to lead the Urds out of a Kobold Society, he's got to find a community of kobolds and then find those Urds within that community and then speak with them. And the consequence is, if he doesn't get that done, just like the long-term consequence in this case, the Urds will continue to be outcast in that kobold community, which can be fatal to the Urd. So in this case, not only does he have to find a kobold community, he's got to speak with that Urd, which means he's got to then convince that Urd that going with Sken is the right way to go versus just settling for the life he was born into. You know what I mean? So how do we get that midterm goal done? We have a short-term goal to help that, or to accomplish that. So how does he find a community of kobolds and speak with Urds? Well, first he's got to go where kobold communities are, which means he's got to search for underground kobold populations. And again, if you look up kobolds in the monster manual, you will find that they live in layers, like dragons' layers even. They live in tunnels, like mining tunnels, or natural, like volcanic tunnels, and dungeons. So, and if he doesn't find, if he doesn't search for these underground kobold populations, if he doesn't accomplish that, he could die during the discovery or be captured by kobolds who will once again enslave Sken. So imagine he's going through a dungeon, he finds a passageway that takes him to an encampment of kobolds. He's there to try to find Urds. He doesn't find any, but he's discovered that he is an Urd himself, and that encampment could then enslave him and put him to work, or murder him, or whatever that particular little clan does to Urds. You know what I mean? So, so all of this to say, he's got this goal. He's got all of these goals in his life going on at any given point. Some of these goals can help one another out. So sort of like his goal of becoming the guild sorcerer of the Order of Ix, in his attempt to try to get that done, he grows stronger and stronger and starts working with raw magic and by working with raw magic, that helps his other goal of developing a unique series of sorcery spells. Do you see what I mean? So some things kind of play off each other, but I just thought I'd show you what I got for Sken so far. Hopefully my explanation helps and doesn't confuse, but let me know if it confuses, and because I don't blame you. I try to make it as easy as possible. But just kind of re-listen to my words here a few times. It took me a little bit to understand exactly how short-term feeds into mid-term, which feeds into long-term. And not every goal has to have a long-term goal. You could just have a short-term goal. I didn't have any here, but you could just have a short-term goal of, I want to find a permanent house in the city of Lankmar. So short-term means, I forgot to go over the comments on that one, but short-term goals can be accomplished in less than 6 play sessions. And typically with short-term goals, the character is powerful enough right now to attempt it. So could Sken go to Lankmar and find himself an apartment to live in if he wanted to? Well, can that be accomplished in 6 play sessions or less? Definitely. And is he powerful enough? Well, he doesn't have to have any power to go rent an apartment. You know what I mean? But it must be achievable. Could he do it? Sure. Is there a consequence for failure? I suppose, because if he fails at convincing someone to rent him a place and for finding him a safe place within Lankmar, maybe the Lankmarian citizens don't like birds / kobolds, and he might get killed if he moves in the wrong neighborhood or moves next to the wrong neighbors. You know what I mean? And of course, it has to be fun to pursue. So, that short-term goal might be cool, but once it's done, it's done. There could be a whole set of adventures developed just around that short-term goal. First, he's got to go find a place, which is a whole thing. How much is it going to cost him? What enemies next door does he have to deal with? Because all of the point of all of these goals is it helps me develop, basically, like sessions, around. So if I know that if I see all of your guys' goals out before me, then that helps me better craft my DM preparation so that you can feasibly, hopefully somehow in there, one or most or all of you accomplish one level of your goals somewhere along the way. So that way it becomes, there's a point to what you're doing, other than just walking around the world going, let's just kill things and let's become powerful. That's cool, but after a while it becomes sort of like boring, and I don't want you guys to get bored. So I think this is one of those things that takes 10 times longer to explain than to do. You know what I mean? So hopefully my over explanation helps, and then this is something you can do just at any point. So if you can, I'd like for you guys to just create one goal of any length, whether it's just short term, a midterm, or a long term. But remember, if you do a long term, it has to have a midterm step to it, which then in turn has to have a short term step to it. If you're only doing a midterm, like Sken's number 2 here, it only has to have a short term. And if you just do a short term, then it doesn't have to have anything to support it. It just needs the one step, short term. Anyway, I hope that helps, and I'll talk to you guys later.